Okay, I think
Okay. Okay.
We're just two buddies discussing fantasy. Oh God, it's Sorta Sorcery.
I don't know.
Welcome to Sorta Sorcery, the #1 podcast among scantily clad princesses and their satanic panthers.
That's right. I'm the Panther.
And I am Chase.
We're happy to have you all back. I hope everybody had a great Labor Day.
Yeah, it was that, wasn't it?
It could have been.
Labor Day, it's for workers, I guess.
Yeah.
I haven't met them. They seem fine.
Now, it's interesting that to celebrate labor, we don't work.
Yeah. You'd think that would be like the most laborious day.
I know. I mean, a good Protestant boy like me,
Exactly.
I find
He's
work
got
to be
work
the
ethic.
most relaxing thing one can do.
And like, for us, our work today
Oh,
is
yeah.
talking
Task at
about
hand.
the movie Fire and Ice.
Oh, yeah. By big boy Ralph Bakshi.
Ralph Bakshi. He's a controversial filmmaker, some would say. Some would say, who is Ralph Bakshi? And
Many
many would say that. If you've seen any just weird animated clips of a Lord of the Rings based movie, well, it's that.
Yep.
It's a Lord of the Rings movie by Ralph Bakshi. And maybe you have more background on this guy.
Yeah, I mean, Ralph Bakshi started his career in, late 1980s, 90s. He did do a Lord of the Rings adaptation, which most people know him for. And his big thing was rotoscope. This guy loved rotoscope animation.
Couldn't get enough of the stuff.
He just couldn't get enough of the stuff. And for those of you who don't really know what rotoscope is, it's essentially having human actors who do human things. You film them, but instead of actually using the footage of the human actors, you draw over them.
Yeah.
Which is a gross oversimplification, but it will do to explain his style. If you watched Fire and Ice, if you got around to it, you certainly know it can look strange, surreal at times.
Sure. A bit, we'll talk about it later, but sometimes it gives itself to certain excesses in animation.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And I think this sort of hyper real nature of rotoscope as a form of animation is very intentional in Bakshi's work. He created a number of other films. If you're a film buff, you might know him for things like Fritz the Cat, late 1960s, early 1970s.
Weird sexual cat movie. Heavy Traffic. It's like 73. That was shortly after Fritz the Cat. And a lot of these movies, Coonskin as well, is like very popular, very controversial film. Yeah.
A lot of his early work, very controversial in how it portrays the place where he grew up, which is, around Harlem, New York. He has a surprising amount to say about the Black experience for a white Jewish man.
And Coonskin specifically was a movie that caused a lot of debate among the burgeoning civil rights movement at the time. Burgeoning, maybe not the best word, but among the civil rights movement at the time.
Right.
Many people, lots of people had different opinions on it. Lots of debate happened because of it. And maybe that was intentional. Maybe the point in that movie and in all of his work is to create some kind of conversation like the one we're having now.
Yeah, I mean, it's working. We are talking.
Yeah.
And he does, in 1976, shift from making these films that, I don't know, maybe they're blaxploitation films, maybe they're not. We're not here to answer that question today.
Yeah, guys like us,
Too heavy.
Yeah.
We're giving it light today.
We're here to talk about swords and a giant iguana.
That's right. Fire and Ice.
Fire and Ice.
Preceding Fire and Ice, though, we get a film called War Wizards, which was the initially pitched title of his first fantasy film in 76. The title eventually changes to Wizards to not conflict with another movie, little indie film popping up at the time, Star Wars.
Star Wars, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't want to compete with that, right? No. He changed the title Wizards. A film that we may at some point cover. It is vaguely Sorta Sorcery.
But we stretch the rules. We're rule breakers. Well, we're also the rule makers, incidentally. But we break those rules.
We do. We make the rules in many ways.
Yeah.
We get to talk about whatever we want to talk about.
No one can stop us.
Yeah, today it's Fire and Ice. It might also be, at one point in the future, Lord of the Rings, which he only released the first part of. That was 78. So he does Wizards. He has some marginal success in that movie. Gets offered to make Lord of the Rings. Great. loves it, takes it, makes a really weird rotoscope version of Lord of the Rings that is controversial, not in the way that his prior films were controversial, but just amongst fantasy fans, people who like Lord of the Rings.
Lots of debate. Is it good or is it bad?
Yeah, is it good or is it bad? Which is
not the controversy you want.
The oldest controversy, really, oldest time itself. And most people, they kind of thought it was camp. They thought it was fun. It's sort of a cult classic film now. Fire and Ice came out 83. Not exactly a cult classic in the same way.
Sure.
Doesn't have as big of a fan base, but it is classic. Maybe not classy. Certainly not classy.
Definitely not classy.
But
very assy.
Classic. Very assy.
very assy. From both of our romantic leads.
Yeah, we see a lot from the main character, the side characters. We just see a lot.
We see
There's
the side of the characters, the back of the characters.
Oh, yeah. A lot of the
bit
back.
of the front.
A lot of the back. This week we have a real treat. Chase is going to be leading us as the lore master in our plot synopsis of this glorious film, this gory, glorious, gooey mess of a film.
Inglorious in a lot of ways. Today I'm your Lord of Lore, and I will break down the plot of this amazing movie with maybe some slight interjections from my co-host here.
I'm going to find the first opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second and the third to jump in.
And I'm really going to try to steamroll over. It's going to be great. It's going to be really hard to listen to.
We'll be talking over each other for the next 10 minutes.
Okay. So we start off with a prologue. It's the end of the Ice Age. You remember that. Barbarians, they're running around.
Yep.
Giant monsters and beasts. It's an age of conflict. And we have this wizard lady who has a name. That we find out like an hour into the movie. It's Juliana.
Oh, it's Juliana.
Her name is Juliana. Right. And she has this son, Necron, who you gotta know Necron. He's awesome. So basically she plots to take over the world with the help of her son, who she gets by some ill-begotten means. They don't really specify, but
she conjures him up somehow.
She makes him, and they have an army, and they're going to take over the world. We find all that out in a very dramatic prologue. But then we get into the opening, where we cut straight into this like barbarian encampment, who have set up this like wooden barricade.
Yeah, they just got a tiny palisade.
Really tiny palisade. And like they're being attacked by this like wave, this giant wave of ice. How is the wood going to help them? Doesn't make any sense. I guess they're barbarians.
They're doing their best.
They're doing their best. Necron pulling in. He's in his palace, but he's sending.
Yeah, has ice magic.
Has ice magic. This Necron guy. If the name Necron was not enough to clue you in, he is a wizard. He has magic powers. And power over ice, despite his name being Necron. Do you think he'd be like a necromancer?
Yeah, power over death. He does have some sort of implied power to do things with people.
Well, I just assumed that like he was using wind, because like in later points in the movie, he'll like kind of use like almost the force on people and like puppet them around.
Yeah,
but I just thought he was like
that could be wind. That could be wind,
like ice, wind.
I like that interpretation.
But that's later in the movie. Because right now, our main guy, whose name is Larn. Larn, he's running around the encampment. He's like, his dad's there. He's like, oh, go to safety, I guess. Larn's not doing much. He's not doing much then. Yeah. He won't do much later on in the movie.
No.
But yeah, basically, the ice destroys the wood because, of course, that's how it works. Ice beats wood, as we all know. Fire beats ice. Fire beats wood. Fire beats all these things. Most things. But we don't have fire yet. Because Larn leaves, and his brother and like everybody dies. But right as the ice comes in, and we think, it couldn't get worse. Everybody's dying left and right.
Yeah.
It gets worse. Racially dubious goblins.
Oh, yeah.
They come in. And at this point in the movie, we're going to track throughout as the movie goes along, like the progression of these people.
hardly could call them people.
At the beginning, you can hardly call them people. They're these like grayish green, like little guys. Like they're running around. They have like fangs, and they can't speak. They're running around. They're grabbing people. They're like
they can grunt. People. They can make sounds.
They're grunting.
They don't have intelligible speech. At this point in the movie.
At this
juncture,
movie, they do not have intelligible speech. So yeah, the barbarians who survive the ice attack get fucked up by these goblins. But Lauren, he uses his special move that he'll use at many points throughout the movie. He runs. He
just runs away.
He just books it. And he gets to this jungle area where he proceeds to run more.
Runs more, yeah.
And narrowly survives by jumping to his death, basically, and getting caught in jungle vines, as you do when you know you're the protagonist and there's an hour left in the movie. But from there, we cut to Flame Keep, which is an awesome name. Which in Flame Keep is this like volcanic area.
Yeah, it's like a society built into a volcano.
Yeah,
don't ask us to explain how or why.
Not a great place to live.
But this is where the humans have retreated, stay safe from the ice.
Yeah, which I guess makes sense. But it seems like they were there even before Necron was there. Which, like, if I was just a person in this universe, I'd be like, those fucking idiots. They're living in a volcano. But then when the ice guy comes up, and be like,
okay.
Hey, can I get in there? Yeah. So yeah, leader of the Flame Keep, Gerald.
Hell
is his name. All these people have names. You don't need to know them, but they have them.
No.
Gerald, and he has a daughter named Tigra. And
that he does.
Tigra pulls up to Gerald. She's like, I want to be with you when Necron's men come to negotiate. Because, Necron, sure, he's sending waves of ice at people, but he's also a master of diplomacy.
That's right. And his little goblin ghouls, who are masters of pillaging and ravaging, are also very shrewd diplomats.
It's true. The second you put a hood on one of the goblins, they just become wizened and intelligent and masters of human speech. But yeah, so Tigra is talking to her dad, and the dad says, "Oh, you don't need to help us with this. You need to focus on your studies." Which
hit the books.
Immediately made me wonder, what is she studying?
Well, the elements, of course.
The elements. Her attendant then says, she breaks down the four elements. You got fire, you got water, you got earth, you got air. It's the Avatar.
Yeah, we know this.
We know this. We've watched Avatar.
You live in a world where that's also true.
Exactly. Those are the four elements. And I'm also sitting there. I'm like, how does this relate to the movie at all? I guess fire is fire. That's the lava. It's correct. Keep. But water, I guess, is ice, or like wind. Like, it seems
it's
nebulous.
A mix.
What's earth? I don't know. The ice is really a strange variable here. But whatever. Her studies are that, I suppose. Maybe she could explain a thing or two about us when we get her on the pod. Yeah, she can be the guest next week, Tigra. And impeding her ability to be on the show, Tigra gets kidnapped by goblins after negotiations break down with the hooded, shrewd, intelligent goblins.
Who would have thought?
Because who would have thought? Their terms for peace are essentially surrender or die, which I guess Gerald and Taro, Tigra's brother, because he's also a character in this movie, they essentially choose die. Because they won't surrender. Would you have surrendered? I probably would have.
I think I would have surrendered just because what is he really going to do? Do we know what his policies are regarding anything?
I mean, maybe he has like great fiscal policy. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because we really only know what he's doing when he's taking over places. He's sending the ice, but maybe he's not always just going to send ice. He needs to have somewhere to have a summer.
What happens when everything is covered in ice? What then?
And
maybe... I want to see that post-ice world.
Yeah, maybe it's really chill.
Good one.
But yeah, so Tigra's taken, alliteration, and they kill her pet panther, Shaitan, which, the Amazon trivia is kind enough to tell you that Shaitan is named after the Arabic name for Satan, which really makes you wonder, why? Why did they make
I don't know
choice?
why they named the panther.
But that's neither here nor there.
And then killed him immediately.
This cool panther pet thing. That'd be like in Aladdin. You just fucking killed the tiger. Just first act. Yeah.
Dead and gone. Dusted.
But so yeah, the hooded goblins are taken to the skies. They have their little pterodactyl things, the war hawks, is what they're called. But, at some point, they have to stop somewhere. And Tigra takes this moment to enact her brilliant getaway strategy.
That's right.
Basically, it's all the goblins and Tigra. They're sitting around this like pond,
Yeah, a little
lake
swampy
area,
marsh.
a little swampy marsh. And Tigra like does a little like she gets in the water.
There's a little dance.
She like does a little seductive kind of dance
Mhm.
thing. And then when all the goblins are looking at her, she like goes under the water again
Yep.
and swims away. Which
Could have swam away at any point.
at any point, I don't understand. I genuinely did not understand that part of the but whatever, it worked. So who am I to doubt it?
Yeah. She escapes her kidnapping. Good for her.
Yeah, and this is a good point to mention that back to the conversation on animation earlier, and the excesses of rotoscoping.
Mm-hmm.
They have this character Tigra in the least amount of clothes I think I've ever seen.
It's not a lot.
In a movie that was not.
It's not a lot.
Like rated XXX.
Yeah.
She's wearing this like little like tiny like
I don't even know what you
bikini?
would call it.
I guess yeah. Ralph Bakshi may have gone a bit too far in some places.
Well, sure.
Is all I'll say.
Now, did he go too far, or was he satirizing the excesses of the genre?
Or was he satirizing the excesses of the genre? I think he went too far.
Yeah, probably not.
yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. But whatever. Back to the plot. Her assailants are chasing her after she swims away. But then they get attacked by a giant iguana, which is awesome. And good for Ralph Bakshi putting that in. I'm back on his side.
Very
back
cool.
on Team Baksh. So yeah, one of the goons escapes the giant evil iguana.
Yeah.
I guess not evil. Maybe he's just an animal.
He's just doing his thing. He's just hunting. It's the natural order.
It's the natural
Now,
order.
I will say, one goblin who does not escape the iguana is, in fact, not a goblin at all. And I think this is where
he is not.
This is where things sort of break down in terms of
Yeah,
how you're supposed to contextualize the racially dubious goblins in your own mind. Because you think from the beginning, well, these are just orc stand-ins.
Yeah, and they say in the prologue that like she amasses this like foul army or something. Like, you think, oh yeah, like they're created, they're orcs, they're Trollocs.
Yeah. There's some, well, they are considered subhuman within the worlds of the movie, but you would assume they were actually a different race than man. Potentially not so. There's one scene when the iguana is attacking a bunch of the goons where one of the goblins, well, goblin would be perhaps insulting,
you
because
can't say that.
The actor who obviously is portraying this character, this extra, is rotoscoped not to look like the other goblins, but just to look like
just a black guy.
What he looks like.
Yeah, just a black man with like a nice haircut.
Yeah. He actually looks pretty clean and pretty well kept compared to the rest of the goblins.
But he gets slain like the rest of them. Yeah. Because, Iguana's attacking, he's tearing through him. At this point you're like, do these guys deserve it? I guess they do. Because one escapes and tries to like kill or grab or something to Tigra.
Yeah.
Tigra gets him.
She gets the better of him.
And truly just shows no remorse for this, which would make sense if they're like orc characters. But if they're just like human beings, just people, it gets a bit dubious, gets a bit strange. But
it's all part of her character arc and coming to terms with being violent.
Yeah, I guess that's her arc, if she can be said to have one. So the goons, the racially dubious goblins, they're talking to the witch lady through ice FaceTime, which was confusing to me. Just like imagine just kind of a cloud of ice that's like forming Juliana's face. Yeah, and that's what the conversation was. They were
like a magic
speaking
mirror.
through that, like a magic mirror. So then she like Darth Vader's one of them with ice magic. She like force chokes him.
To be fair, he did fail her.
He did fail her, which like you're allowed to do. I think that's one of the rules now. You get one. You get one every day. And she used her one and sent the rest of them to find Tigra. Then we got to Larn, who
has been doing something. He's been running.
Running. He runs. Larn is a fascinating character in that he is not a fascinating character.
Yeah, he is blonde.
Yeah.
And that's about all you know about him.
Well, he's naked.
Well, he's naked. He's got a great ass. Yeah.
He does have a nice ass, if I'm really
Yeah.
being honest. And, the wolves also think so, because they want a piece of
Oh, yeah.
him.
They want to munch.
He's sleeping in a field, and some wolves come along, and they're just, they want to munch. But then Larn uses the Larn special.
Yeah.
He runs away.
Yeah. No, I'll say before he runs away, he uses the special move,
Oh, true.
which is to pole vault over the wolves with the stick he finds.
He has to. You think he's gonna charge at them and spear them, Breath
Oh,
of the
no.
Wild style? But just pole vaults over him, which I thought was a very cool move.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, but he did. I mean, running less cool, but pole vaulting very cool. Next time you're about to get mugged on the street, just pole vault over the guy.
Yeah.
Run away.
Find a large stick.
Awesome. Find a large stick on the urban streets. Yeah. So one of the wolves. All the wolves are chasing after him. One of the wolves gets shot down by a mysterious figure clouded in shadow.
Uh-oh.
A similar figure that we saw earlier in the movie. Just a guy kind of sitting on a horse before the barbarians were attacked by the ice. But we see this figure again, just shooting down a wolf.
Mysterious.
And we wonder, who could...
What's his deal?
What's that guy's deal? But yeah, so Larn gets away from the wolves, and he comes across this, palace, this ancient ruin area, which incidentally is one of the things on the bingo, which this movie did not.
Yeah, we didn't hit a bingo.
For context, every week when we watch one of these movies, there's a bingo card with just tropes from the movies, and
Yep.
ancient ruin, one of the tropes, but sadly we did not fill out a full line. We did get a lot of tropes, because this is very tropey.
We hit a lot, just not in the right order.
Not in the right order, which really says more about us in the order that we put it in. Sad. Sad. So yeah, Larn gets away. He's walking to this ancient ruin. We see a mysterious face of a figure, some figure.
Some noble warrior.
Who could this be? This whole time we're wondering who could this amazing, mysterious, dark figure be? We don't find out yet, because Larn's laying in a clearing, and Tigra comes along, and now we get 30 minutes in. We get to meet our love interest. We get to see them come together.
Yeah, there's a lot of chemistry there.
There's a lot of chemistry. Another Amazon trivia point. They point out that the movie takes 30 minutes to introduce the love interests to one another, and they share. Do you want to guess how much screen time they share?
Let's go with 5 minutes.
Close, 7.
Ooh,
so a little bit more.
Close.
A little bit more.
Okay, I underestimated it.
Yeah, you did. 5, that would be ridiculous. They share 7 minutes.
Yeah, and that's just right.
90-minute movie. And yeah, it really does show, because there is not much going on with these two.
Not a lot of love, no.
So, they're romancing each other. At one point, they complain about the cold, despite both being entirely naked, basically. They say the phrase, Necron creates the cold, which really made me team Necron, because Necron's not creating this cold. They are creating the cold for themselves by not wearing anything at all. Necron, he gets a bad rap. Sure, he's making ice.
Yeah, I mean, and if he does make the colds, you can make clothes.
Yeah.
You can figure it out.
It should inspire you. Hey, Necron, he wears a robe. Yeah. He has a wizard robe.
Sure, it's a bit of a low-cut robe, but that's the fashion.
That's his style. Yeah, that's the fashion of the time, of the post-Ice Age time. So yeah, whatever. They get attacked by a squid.
Yeah, there's a giant sea monster in the ancient ruins.
They're splashing around a pool, as Tigra's wont to do. And then a squid gets them. And Tigra thinks the squid kills Larn, so she's mourning and gets snatched by some... I guess we can't really call them goblins at this point. We can't call them black people.
I was wondering if you would finish that out.
She gets taken by Necron's
dogs.
Necron's men. She gets taken, and as she's wont to do.
Yeah, I think this is the third time she's been taken now,
and it is not the last. So whatever. Tigra is in the camp with Necron's men. They're all sleeping. She's tied to one of them, and she just kind of gets away.
Yeah, she kills him.
Yeah, she kills the guy that she's chained to.
Drags his body.
Yeah, by she falls down a cliff and lands on him, right? Or does she just kill the guy then and there?
I think she stabs him, and then when she's trying to run away with the body attached, she slips down a cliff, and the dead body crushes her.
And then, right as that happens, the boys, Lauren and Darkwolf.
Oh yeah.
By the way,
Yeah. So there's this guy.
there's this fucking guy who is awesome.
He's the real main character.
Like you'll see on the poster of this movie, like sure, there's Lauren and there's Tigra, but like Darkwolf, he's above all of them.
Yeah, he's in the middle.
He's like holding up an axe. I think he's on horseback. He's awesome. Darkwolf is the coolest person ever, fictional or not. And basically, as Tigra is being taken, like when she's still in the camp, Darkwolf nurses Lauren back to health, and I guess they become friends. They're buddies.
Yeah, I guess they're buddies. I think the implication is that Darkwolf, he's an ancient warrior of this forgotten civilization, right? And he has a grudge against Necron.
Presumably for destroying this civilization?
I guess. Although it doesn't look very icy.
Well, no, there's no ice whatsoever.
Yeah. But he does want to kill Necron, and he wants to encourage Lauren to kill Necron.
Yeah.
So they have that in common.
Yeah. They have a common enemy, which does bring people together. Will and I, we started this pod. Common enemy.
Yeah.
Our enemy is people who don't like sword and sorcery films.
Yeah.
We're going to destroy them by making them like sword and sorcery films.
Erase them off the map.
Erase them because they will no longer exist because they will be
listeners.
Sword and sorcery fans. They'll be listeners. But yeah, so Darkwolf rocks and Lauren is there. Darkwolf is just kind of like slicing through.
He's cutting them up.
Like goons, the bad guys. And Lauren is like hanging out, I guess.
Yeah.
He's looking around. He's looking around for Tigra. She's not there because she's been taken by a troll guy. There's trolls in this universe.
Yeah, there's like a big troll guy.
Yeah, like a big red-headed troll, which like also introduces fun like anti-Irish racism into this film.
Because he's dumb.
He's
dumb.
Not
just a troll in size. He's very unintelligent.
Yeah, he grunts. Yeah, he's not all there. But he has a mom, presumably.
Yeah, he has a woman who he lives with.
A woman who he lives with who also has red hair, and seems maternal over him. Who is a witch. She's another witch in this series, with another, I guess, weird son. Necron's a weird son, I think.
He's a very strange son.
He's a strange son.
And this is another strange son.
Yeah. And basically the witch like plucks one of Tigra's hairs, throws it into a cauldron, and then gets like a PowerPoint slide on how Necron wants Tigra.
Yeah.
And she, as a shrewd businesswoman as she is, decides. Well, she freaks out momentarily, but then the business mindset kicks in.
She doesn't want anything to do with Necron. I guess she's a weaker form of witch. And maybe him as a wizard with ice magic is stronger.
All she could do is make a troll son.
Yeah, I haven't seen her do much.
So she decides to send her incoherent, unintelligent, cannot speak, doesn't know language, troll son to negotiate with Necron's goons.
Yes.
Who also, I guess, don't speak language.
They're gonna sign to each other, I guess. I'm not sure how this ransom offer would take place.
And let's just say negotiations break down. Because the troll comes back to the hut. He's stabbed. He's done. He's dead. The goons they charge in.
Yep. They get her.
I guess she like trips on one of the guys and like trips into his knife because she just like runs into a guy and then gets stabbed.
Yeah, she doesn't put up much of a fight for someone with presumably magic.
I guess that's what makes her a worse witch. She just has no survival.
Magic,
no offensive magic, no survival instinct.
It's all just divining.
It's all divining. In all this, Tigra gets kidnapped again. This happens a lot in this movie. Which, hey, maybe that's also saying something about the genre.
Maybe that's satirizing a thing.
Maybe it's satirizing a thing. But satire or not, she gets kidnapped again.
Yeah, there she goes.
That
whole plot point with the witch and the troll
did not need to be in the movie.
Feels like there was supposed to be more there.
Well, because like before that starts, she is kidnapped. She's taken by. She's in possession of the goons. She gets out, gets taken by the troll, and then ends up back with the
in
goons.
Possession of the goons. So it is kind of a wasted 10 minutes.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But from this, we find out that Lauren pulls up to the hut, and like the unquiet corpse, which is one of my favorite tropes in any fantasy thing.
I love it.
Like the witch, like she's like bones and like
she's mostly the top half of a skeleton.
Yeah, a top half of a skeleton with like a skeletal finger that she's pointing. She tells him, your princess is in another castle. Tigra has been
They've
taken.
gone to
Agrabah.
I was going to say Agrabah. I don't know why that felt so right.
Agrabah. What's Agrabah? Is that Aladdin?
I think it's Aladdin.
It's not Aladdin. She's gone to Agrabah. The genie has her. But yeah, she's taken to Akotar, the port city, and Lauren has to go.
I guess there's civilization.
Yeah, because it's like a whole like Arabian city.
Yeah,
like,
with massive trade ships and markets.
Like it does look like Agrabah. Like it has the same buildings and stuff. And it's like where I spend the whole movie with like barbarians and stuff.
Yeah,
where do these guys?
Yeah, Lauren comes from a hut in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's fascinating. The world building or lack thereof in this movie. Much to own.
Very aesthetic though.
Very aesthetic. It's a nice movie. Bakshi does not disappoint. Until he does.
Well, sure.
But you know, Juliana now has Tigra.
She's got her.
It's fascinating because I guess Juliana's plan with Tigra was to offer her to Necron as like to sire an heir.
Yeah.
But like, she was taken as like a bargaining chip. But I guess just the plan developed from there.
Yeah, I mean, she got the other idea later on.
Yeah. And Necron not enthused about this idea, let's say.
No.
For some reason, just not into the
I'm not
prospect
sure what it is,
of procreating with this woman. And yeah, he very violently rejects the idea. He's very upset.
He does.
Tigra sees this moment as an opportunity. Hey, I'll appeal to his better nature. This wizard named Necron. I'll appeal to his better nature.
Surely he can be reasoned with.
She offers peace to him. And what I'm forgetting. What does he say?
I don't know. It's interesting. It's not. He doesn't accept the peace.
No.
He doesn't.
He rejects it somehow.
Yeah, he does. Oh, that's right. He spits on.
He spits on peace.
I spit on peace.
I spit on peace, and I
spit on you.
It's awesome.
Best line of the movie.
It's really cool.
If you haven't watched the movie and you're just listening to the plot now, go look up the clip of Necron spitting on peace.
And spitting on her.
And spitting on Tigra.
Yeah.
Because it will tell you everything you need to know about his character and about the movie itself.
He's just so arch. It's awesome. So yeah, Tigra gets thrown into ice prison. It's this like little pit of like spikes and ice and stuff where there's like other bodies and corpses and stuff. Ice prison. And then Taro, remember him?
Yeah, you remember Tigra's brother Taro, King Jarl's son,
heir to Flame Keep. He tries to get Tigra back. He charges into the Ice Kingdom, and then he's killed.
Well, he comes presumably on like a death quest of negotiating for her freedom. He shows up with his guys at the behest of his father,
like 5 dudes,
and he's like, "Hey, give her back." And Necron's like, "Well, what if I make you kill all your men instead?"
How about
kill
that?
You.
Yeah. So Necron chooses that option of killing him. And then he's also thrown in ice prison, as Necron does.
His poor empty corpse.
Yeah, just kind of chucked into the ice pit. Then Lauren pulls up right in the nick of time. He's very good at showing up like after things have gone wrong. Lauren pulls up, tries to like shoot at Necron from like behind an ice rock.
Never gonna work.
No, Necron dodges effortlessly because he's good.
Mm-hmm.
And then seeing Lauren, this man in a loincloth.
Oh
the idea occurs to Necron. Oh, I'll also strip down to my loincloth.
Yeah.
Takes off his robe. Yeah. And now they're just 2 loincloth wearing men dueling.
And they're having probably the most homoerotic sword fight in the history of cinema.
They're grunting. They're getting like right up close to each other.
I think that should be noted for anyone who didn't see the movie. Necron's magic is decidedly sexual.
We should talk about Necron.
It's very sexual.
Yeah, like the ice, the way that it's portrayed, like when it was destroying the barbarian encampment, there's like gushes of white to it, and like they cut back to Necron like charging up the ice,
and he's moaning,
he's
moaning, thrashing,
he's writhing around in his chair. It's choices were made.
Yeah, it's very raw. It's very visceral.
It's very raw. It's very visceral. It's very something. So they're dueling. Necron is losing to Larn because Larn has raw barbarian man strength.
Right.
But then Necron starts using the Force on him. He's moaning. He's like, he cheats. Which, like, if I had magic,
fair enough.
I'm cheating.
I'm
gonna cheat if I'm fighting a guy.
Yeah.
He's trapping him in place, and he's like, again, he's kind of writhing around. He's like, he's moving a little bit.
Him.
Yeah, he's moving his shoulders like Drake. Yeah, he's dancing around. And
hotline bling.
Like he's got the hotline bling. He's puppeteering Larn, and wins because of course that's what you do when you have ice magic. And then where does he go? Ice prison. But this time, ice prison has like a lock.
Yeah, there's a specific
like a door.
Cell with a wooden door in ice prison.
Which I guess that's where Necron puts his boy toys. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Tigra honestly doesn't even go into prison. She goes where all the dead people are.
Yeah, just like a pit.
Yeah, like the mass grave.
Yeah. Necron just did not give a shit about Tigra, which, like, I guess makes sense. For his whole deal. So now we're in the ending stretch. Tigra finds Larn in prison because she gets out of the pit because it's, again, just a pit, really. But then somehow she gets captured again. She gets taken away.
She attempts to free Larn.
Yeah, she tries
fails.
to. Yeah.
Then Larn frees himself.
Yeah, Larn independently frees himself. And then what does Larn do? He runs.
Yeah, he does.
That's the thing. You know these characters very well. Necron, he's going to create ice. He's going to throw people into ice prison. Tigra is going to get captured.
Larn's
going to run. Larn's going to run. But Darkwolf, what's Darkwolf going to do? He's going to kill some goblins.
About him.
He's going to kill some goblins. Larn is running, and he's being chased by Necron's men. And then, Darkwolf pulls up. He cuts through him. Cuts through him like butter. He's good. Then Larn and Darkwolf together go to Flame Keep. Remember that place? Flame Keep, they're very nervous there because they're Flame Keep and the whole world is being covered in ice.
Yep. Ice is slowly approaching this whole time.
Ice is slowly approaching. Global cooling is setting in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not happy.
They're not happy about it. And Geralt he's contemplating the nuclear option, essentially. There's like this little lever that they can pull.
Cartoonishly large lever.
Yeah. It's just like flood the whole world in lava to like destroy the ice, which really makes me suspect of Flame Keep that they just like had that option. Again, if we're assuming that they existed before Necron, they were just ready to destroy the entire
they were ready
Earth
to go, man.
if they really had to. But in this case, it works, and we can't really question them because this is the exact scenario where they would need that option. A bunch of lava. So Geralt's thinking about it. Darkwolf's like, okay, just fucking give me some time. I'll kill Necron, don't worry. I'll take the guy out. Larn will also be there for that. And Larn's like, yeah, I will. Because he knows he's not doing much.
Yeah.
So yeah, they all go together, Larn, Darkwolf, and like a bunch of Geralt's men. They charge in on their Warhawks, which are just pterodactyls. And they make a run to...
Yeah, they're going on a kamikaze mission here.
Essentially, yeah. And they all die, pretty much, except for Darkwolf and Larn, because they're all unnamed characters. They get like rocks dropped on them and stuff.
Arrows shot at them.
But somehow Larn and Darkwolf are just like weaving through it. Darkwolf makes sense, because he's awesome. But Larn, he's never ridden one of these before. He should have died. Yeah. But I guess he's important for the plot. He's not. Spoilers. And he's not because Darkwolf's gotten himself. Darkwolf gets into the throne room.
Yep.
He has the most. We replicated the "I spit on peace, I spit on you." I don't think we could replicate the Darkwolf yell. Yeah, because like it's just this like primal.
Time slows down.
Yeah, it's like you should watch this movie, specifically this scene of Darkwolf. Just like
you just watch the second half of the movie.
Watch the second half of the movie. Yeah, Darkwolf, like he's just this like those just anger and personified. He charges at Necron. He screams out his name. Necron scared for the first time we see him in the entire movie because Darkwolf is awesome.
Terrified.
Tries to freeze him in place. The thing he did to
everyone
Larn.
else.
Yeah, literally everybody else to defeat them.
Won't work.
Won't work.
Not this time.
He's moving through it. He's getting through the barriers. And then just chops him down, cuts him down.
Boom.
Juliana busts in. She's yelling. She's scared.
No,
my son.
Whatever.
Get a better son.
He wasn't good enough.
He wasn't good enough. Darkwolf kills Necron, but in Necron's like dying gasps, he finishes essentially. Just these gushes of ice are like coming out.
Yeah.
Like the ice that was already there before is now just like charging even more. It's coming towards Flame Keep. And then Gerald's like, well, I guess
we're going to do the thing.
I guess I'm going to do the thing. Because, when all you have is a hammer, everything's going to nail. When all you have is a volcano, everything is a problem that can be solved by a volcano. Floods the world in lava, cancels out the ice, and now it's like a nice little like temperate climate area.
Yeah, it's nice. Juliana dies. She falls in the lava.
Yeah.
As the ice collapses.
She gets the scar death from Lion King. Yeah. And now we're in this like new world, and Tigra and Larn are like on a beach, and they wake up after having not done anything for the entire movie.
That's right.
And they're holding each other in an embrace. And from the water on the beach.
Oh no.
Yeah. Who appears but one of the racially dubious goblins.
Crawls out of the water.
He crawls out of the water.
Dying.
He's gasping. He's dying. Larn
immediately instinct kicks in.
Instinct kicks in. He grabs like a boulder. He's gonna like drop it on the guy's head. Tigra's like, no, wait, it's over. We have to change. Or what'd you say? It's over. We have to start over. Which
whatever
that
means.
Whatever that fucking means. They leave the guy alive. And I guess they were being mind controlled. I don't know. But yeah, that's the end of the movie. That's the note they end the movie on. And you really got to wonder, what are they going to do? What are they going to do with these people?
Yeah, that is the biggest question I think we had at the end of the film was, where do we go from here?
And like, I think the movie, or especially with like whatever the ice can't like being canceled out by the lava and like creating this like temperate climate, you can read it as like a prehistory almost. Like, how did the Ice Age end? How do we get into like the point we're in now?
Fire Keep, yeah.
Fire Keep. But like Ralph Bakshi specifically deciding to end the movie on the note of like the racially dubious goblin coming out of the water and being treated like a person. That seems intentional. It seems
like he's trying to do something there. Do I think there was enough setup in the movie to like contextualize that?
No.
Because
we're not even fully sure if like these people have language. In one scene, they kind of grunted at each other in like a knowing way.
Yeah, it's presumed they have some sort of like subhuman language that's comprised.
They're called
not
subhumans
of
at one point in the movie.
They are.
Yeah,
they are.
And I guess now we got to talk about it. What is happening with these people in this movie? Like
I'm not sure.
And I came away from the movie very much being confused. Like, because usually, you get orcs in a movie, and they're like these like non-humans. They're not subhumans. They're just an entirely different thing.
They're just non-human.
They're non-human. You can cut them down. You don't feel bad at all. But these are like they look like people. They have like sharp, jagged teeth, and they're like gray at the beginning of the movie. But they look like people.
Yeah.
They become progressively like
some of
browner
them really
as the movie goes on, which like is concerning. And like, is this satire? Is this supposed to make us question the trope of orcs?
Yeah, and I don't know from the authorial intent if that's exactly what Bakshi is going for, but I do think that's the discussion most people will have after encountering that, because they're very analogous to orcs in terms of what they do in the movie. Yeah. It's like, okay, they're doing orc things, like they're going on grunt work missions sent by the wizard overlord, and they're killing people and they're stealing women and they're bad.
And it is interesting on a more like broad genre note. Now we're just talking about genre stuff. That's what we're doing here. The movie talk's over. We're in
Done.
genre space.
Over.
Sword and sorcery movies, as a result of like their kind of lower budgets, they don't have like the armies of like orcs and trolls like a Lord of the Rings will have, like the later adaptations.
Yeah, there's no epic scale.
There's no epic scale, so we're really just dealing with like people for the most part. There will be like goblins and stuff occasionally. Like there aren't really like races of monsters in the way that there are for like contemporary higher budget fantasy properties. So we were really just dealing with like human to human conflict in a way that fantasy isn't always great at portraying on like a racial level.
Yeah.
So like here we get essentially a human to human conflict that has like the species to species coding of like an orc like encounter, which does feel strange. Like, is the takeaway that we're supposed to consider orcs with like the level of humanity that we could consider humans? Because like fair, I mean orcs they possess some level of like intelligence.
Presumably.
We haven't asked orcs. This
Yeah.
isn't an orc podcast.
I mean, thematically, it's very difficult, I think, to convey very complex ideas of morality and who is good and who is bad, because fundamentally, these stories, right, are about a clash between good and evil.
Right.
Necron is bad, he's evil, he's trying to take over the world, and everyone else is not going to let that happen.
Yeah. And I guess the ending's supposed to imply that, like, the goblins were they weren't complicit in all of this. They were just kind of forced to...
Yeah, they're just following orders.
They were just following orders. But it leaves a weird taste in the mouth. And that, along with, like, the treatment of Tigra and, like, other female characters in the movie, it does open the question of, like, is this movie doing these tropes just, like, just the general bad tropes of the sword and sorcery genre, or is it like critiquing these tropes? And I feel like if you have to ask that, maybe it's not doing satire well, is my thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but it did create this conversation, so that's something. It's good for the listener and great for us. But I don't know if it's good for the watcher of the movie.
Yeah. And watchers of the movie at the time, they took issue with a number of things. Let's just say that.
Oh, yeah.
I think it is interesting to note some of the reception the film got at the time. One element that we didn't touch on as much, that we obviously still could because it is relevant to how people view the film now, is the hypersexuality that is present. There's one review, I love this one, from Janet Maslin of the New York Times, who wrote, "If you love comic books, but can't bear the unnecessary bother of turning pages, Fire and Ice may be for you.
That's awesome.
It would help if you were a sex-obsessed 12-year-old boy, but it isn't essential."
God damn. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, she didn't like the film.
Well, hey, what gave you that idea?
So, that is an issue, right? That a lot of people, they'll raise it in response to sword and sorcery films. Like, hey, why is this movie so sexual? And I would say, like, it's true that the genre as a whole has had a very negative history with its portrayal of women in particular.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that, even more so than just like the costuming, has to do with the character writing.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because the costuming is just generally very hypersexual.
Well, yeah, I mean, Larn has maybe less clothes.
Yeah, he's ass out the whole film.
But I think I see your point. I see your point here, because like men and women in sword and sorcery films are given very like set roles. The man is the conqueror, the barbarian, this like free, like running around hero. And the woman is almost stuck in this like domestic role where you can't really do too much to affect the plot. You're like a damsel, you're taken, you're displaced. Like it sets the women in like very confined spots where like their character can't fully shine through. And like even I think a damsel can be written well, in a way that like the character comes through the role they're put in, but it is harder, especially if you're not really giving a lot of time for the character to shine.
Yeah, and there is such little time in this movie given to the development of Tigra's character.
Yeah.
Although I'll say this. I think if you're being overly critical, and now here we are, we're reading in themes to the movie that were never intended, or we're seeing things in a way that most people wouldn't go so far as to see. But I do see a character arc for Tigra at the start of the movie, as you talked about in the synopsis, right? She expresses this want to not engage with learning of the elements, but rather engage with the diplomacy and the war effort. And she wants to fight back. And she's the most vocal person in the beginning. That we can't submit to Necron. We need to take them down. Let me at them.
Yeah, everybody else is like, oh, let's hear their peace treaties.
And as the plot progresses, right, we see that that diplomacy fails.
Yeah.
And she herself goes through her own arc of feeling powerless, not being empowered at all. She's captured. That's how her character arc starts. She's literally stolen out of a tower.
Yeah.
And then she starts killing people, which I do think is kind of interesting. And every time she's captured, she gets better at killing people.
Yeah.
So violence in the end does sort of work, and her turn towards violence and away from the traditional role that her society ascribes for her, that is kind of fulfilled by the end of the movie. Now, here's why I think it's really not.
Yeah.
The most interesting gender divide, and as you're talking about, there are definitely distinct roles that men and women play in the genre. At the end of the day, violence wins out. But whose violence is it? It's not her violence.
Yeah.
It's the rage embodied, which is Darkwolf. It's not her. So I think it is very interesting that you could perhaps, if you're being very metaphorical, see Darkwolf as an embodiment of her violent rage against Necron, what he's done. But Darkwolf's a man with a big axe and he's buff.
Yeah, very much like a separate entity almost.
Yeah.
And another confounding thing for this is that, like, at the end, who is denying the violence being done? Tigra. Like, Tigra is saying that, like, oh, don't kill this guy. He's just, like, when they're on the beach. Don't kill him. He's just...
Yeah, it's over.
It's over. Yeah. And before that, who offers a peace treaty to Necron when she's in the Ice Palace? Tigra does.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess you could say that, like, is almost parabolic. Like, it's a parabola of sorts. Like, she gets very violent in the middle of the movie and then kind of sees more avenues for peace by the end. But she's kind of all over the place. Yeah.
I mean, it's possible that there could be an implication read into those plot dips and valleys, that sometimes violence is good and called for, and other times diplomacy is called for, and she has an understanding of that other characters don't. But it is hard to try and make that argument when the plot is ultimately resolved by a big guy with an axe who just kills another guy.
A big guy who just kind of, like, comes out of nowhere, presumably, and kills him and just, like, fucks off and leaves.
And is the entire movie hell-bent on killing the guy he ends up killing. He's never, at any point, inclined to let Necron go or try and reason with him. No, he's going to kill him.
But the thing is, like, at least Tigra has, like, a utility to the story. Larn is just
so
there.
Useless.
Like, Larn, you think Larn's going to be the protagonist, but then Darkwolf shows up and he's just better in every single way.
That's exactly what Larn does, but better.
Looks cooler. Has like for you, those of you who haven't seen, who hadn't Googled pictures of of Darkwolf throughout this podcast, he's like this, like, cool, like, shadowy figure. He's like Batman, basically.
Yeah.
He has, like, a cowl that's like
he has like a jaguar's skin.
I guess jaguar. Yeah. Very fascinating. Like, that they had this, like, because Darkwolf didn't need to be in the movie. It could have just been Larn pulling in, killing Necron. But, like, they took that from him in very interesting.
Yeah,
like,
it seems like a very intentional choice.
All of these choices seem intentional, but, like, what are the intentions?
Yeah, but were they
at all? Yeah. A lot of the time, it does just and, like, we're talking about this with the world building too. It does seem like just things are kind of thrown together haphazardly, and, like, the overall result is cool. Like, it is, I think, a cool movie. I had fun. I liked seeing Darkwolf cut Necron down. But, like, thematically, what is... I guess every movie doesn't need to have themes.
I think there's one more review I want to read from just a guy. Donald Gregg of the monthly film bulletin,
Okay.
who called the action sequences impressive enough, but stated that the animator's fetishistic fascination with the human form underlies the two-dimensionality of the script, for the artwork is certainly the only fleshing out that characters receive.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Yeah.
And maybe there is something to that. I do think for people who want to treat this movie as something more than what it appears to be at first, which is just a hypersexual, hyper-violent at times, blasé story of a princess who's captured by a bad guy, who the bad guy is eventually killed by a cool guy.
Yeah, by some guy.
There needs to be some consideration of Bakshi's wider volume of work, because there is a fascination with the human form that is made much more intentional in his earlier work, like Fritz the Cat or Heavy Traffic. So concerning that, maybe there's some more credence to lend to his artistic choices made in the movie.
I mean, same thing goes for the seemingly racist portrayal of the bad guy army. I mean, Bakshi is a writer who's very concerned with race and racial conflict, especially. So to have this almost Mormon-esque origin of race, so that is how I kind of read the ending, as an explanation of difference in race, and that there's these two groups of humans who are very set apart in a way, due to this epic fantastical conflict. That is how a lot of more colonial religions and worldviews do explain differences in race. For whatever the Mormons, the mark of is that the Mormons? I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. Let's just make stuff up.
Yeah, let's start making claims about people and what they believe.
Yeah, who knows, right? Some American religion believes that black people were the descendants of Cain, and this is a similar kind of story, but maybe setting that in this kind of silly fantastical world deflates that a little bit, and that maybe is the point.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Are they just doing that?
Or are they just doing it?
Yeah.
We may never know.
We may never know. I want to know though.
Yeah.
We're gonna get Ralph Bakshi on the pod. We're gonna
interview him and ask him what's really up.
Yeah.
There is DVD commentary on the DVD.
Wow.
So if anyone would like to email us $15, we'll listen to the commentary and get back to you.
And you don't have to email us $15. You could Venmo us $15.
That's so true.
You could
Zelle.
Cash App us $15.
All those links in the description.
Or hey, for you granddads and grandmas out there, just mail it.
Just put it in an envelope.
Put it in an envelope. Lick it. Put a stamp on it.
It'll get to us eventually.
Yeah.
But I hope everyone has a lot to think about, digest with this movie. It's a fun one. We wanted to start with a fun one.
Yeah.
It's troubled, but that only makes it all the more fun.
Definitely.
I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot to look at, laugh at, gawk at.
Point at the screen. Grab your screen. Punch your screen. Throw your screen across the room.
Wide-eyed in horror and awe. I think we had a good time with this one.
Yeah.
And next week, looking forward to new things.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be...
You may have seen reference to this movie in the Halloween episode of Community.
That's right.
When Pierce dresses up like the titular main character. But next week, we are doing Beastmaster.
Oh, yeah.
1982's Beastmaster.
Let's go.
It's
Don Coscarelli.
Don Coscarelli, we love him. It's a classic in the sword and sorcery genre, and we will be excited to talk about it.
Yeah, and you can find this where you can find anything, which is Amazon Prime Video.
Amazon Prime Video, all of your things, all of your favorite things, your address. It's on there. It's all on there. Jeff Bezos knows
They have it all.
We have it all. It's awesome.
Yeah, find it wherever you find other movies. I don't want to say that you should go to illicit sources. But go wherever you need to go to find this movie and watch it.
Hey, do what you got to do, buddy.
Just watch it.
We're not your boss. We're not in charge of you. We're not Jeff Bezos.
I'm not a cop.
I'm not. Yeah. But have fun watching it and have even more fun listening to the pod.
Oh yeah. Next week We'll be right back at it
Next week.